Hi, this is Greg with Walnut Ridge. Today we're going to be looking at one of our newest pickups at the dealership. We're doing an orientation video on it. It's going to be the Alliance Paradigm. This is the 370B model, which is personally my favorite. So we'll start up here in the front, work our way around to the inside, and go over the features and a little bit more in detail on some of the aspects of the coach. Starting up front, we have docking light switch, huge front storage which will hold your batteries. Usually you'll have deep cycle marine batteries, which do need to be checked with their water levels every 6 months or so, depending on how often you use it. The batteries just have two caps on the top. You can pop those off, and you want to check that battery level periodically, every 6 months or so, and just make sure that they have distilled water in them. If they don't, you run the risk of burning up the batteries, and you're out batteries, got to pay for those. You don't want that to happen. So moving up in here, not a lot you need to mess with. You have your inverter, which will power your fridge when you're not running. And you can see the phone line cable running out of it. That's going to be for a remote that's on the inside. These are set up to wherever we are actually turned on. Now if I unplug the unit, the refrigerator will remain running. That way when you're traveling down the road, it's going to, your fridge can run, because it is a residential style refrigerator. Moving on in here, there's not much else you'll have to physically mess with. You have your pump for your hydraulic stabilizing jacks. You can check your hydraulic fluid level line once all the jacks are completely up, so like it's on your truck, and make sure that the line isn't getting too low. It's got a fill line on it. You can put regular hydraulic transmission fluid in it and go from there. Let's see, not much else in there. Moving around to this side, it has a standard LCI leveling system like most coaches do nowadays, fifth wheels at least. We have pretty in-depth videos on Facebook and our other YouTube channels that show the exact operation of that. Since it's in the showroom here, I can't go through all that, but it is a fairly easy system to learn and to use. Now going around to this side, you'll have two 7-gallon LP tanks on your coach. Both of them will be filled if you're picked up from Walnut Ridge. One thing you'll want to you'll have to mess with on these is the regulator that's in here. Now this is an auto switchover regulator, so you can use it one of two ways. And you can see the tank's not physically hooked up yet because this one hasn't went through our prep process. But when it is hooked up, you'll have a lever on the front of your regulator, and then whichever way that regulator is pointing, let's say this one here, this line is supposed to be hooked up to this one, and this way runs to the other side. So you can run it one of two ways. You can either leave one off and one on, and whichever one that's on you'll want the lever pointing at. So if it's the other side, I'll have it pointing this way, and if it's this tank, I'll have it pointing this way to this hose. And basically what you'll do is just run your camp and run your appliances like you normally would. Once your LP stops working, you know you're out of this tank. You can flip the lever over, that will also go red like it is now, and turn on the other tank and keep on camping. That way you know you have one full tank left at all times. Or you can use it in its auto switchover mode. So let's say I had that one over there on, I leave this one on also. Once that tank is empty, it'll run off this tank first, that one over there. Once it's empty, that'll go red, normally it's green, and it'll automatically start pulling from this side. So if you are running out of your furnace or something, and you don't want it to shut off on you, you want continuous running, you can run it that way. It'll pull from this tank, and the only way you'll know that is if this one's red, it'll show that, hey, that tank's empty, I should probably go ahead and switch it over, because the lever will not physically move itself, and when it's in its switched over state, it loses some of its BTUs. So you might notice a change. That way you'll know you have a tank empty. But other than that, they're fairly simple to operate. You have locks that you can put little thumb locks on here if you want to, because by the law you're not supposed to have locks on the LP compartment doors. That way if you ever had a fire or something, firemen out there can get in there and shut the tanks off, or whoever. Now inside the front storage here, besides the massive amount of room you have, This isn't a lot for the owner, but it's just nice to be able to open this up and have access to the water pump. You have all your fresh tank, all your lines are back here. So I mean, maybe, you know, later down the road there was some kind of leak or something and you're stuck somewhere, and you shouldn't, but if you ever did, you could pop this open. You could probably pinpoint where it's coming from pretty easily and get it repaired. And that's why it's mainly for us. We can gain easy access to everything. So if there is ever an issue with the water system, the pump, or some of the electrical that's back here, you know, we have pretty easy access to it. So I thought that was kind of a cool feature. Instead of having it all screwed down where you got to unscrew it to get to it, you don't have to. Starting at the top, you have motion light, of course. You have a 110 outlet, 2 of them. You have your battery disconnect, which is very confusing to some folks. You'll want to use that. Basically, you have on and off and out. So when it's off, you should be able to rotate it a little bit more and pull the key out. When it's on, it's up. So the smaller end is up, that's on. Anytime you're using the camper, if you're plugged in at the campsite like we are now, and you're using it, you'll want that on. That way it's charging the battery. Now, if you're going to take it home, you're going to park it in the driveway, it's not going to remain plugged in. It's best to go ahead and flip it off, pull the key out, and that way you know it's off. That is going to keep the small items that are hardwired to the 12-volt side from draining your battery over a short course. Now, your battery's still drained if it's going to sit out there for months on end. That's just naturally what batteries do. But if you're just going to park it in the driveway and use it again next weekend, you kill the battery. That way when you go back out there to hook up, your battery will be mostly charged and you'll be able to do what you need to do. Once you get back, you're going to start traveling with it and you're hooked up to your truck, you'll want to flip it back on. That way your truck is charging the battery, so when you get there the battery's charged. So off is basically always storage, on is when you're using the unit. Let's see, you have your outside shower hookup here, which there's a hose in that front storage that you can just click into here, and you have an outside shower. And then you have your water system, which I'm not going to go through and explain each individual one because it shows you pretty good detail there of which way each lever needs to be. You know, down, green, red, up, blue, sideways, left. And that's to power fill, to fill your fresh tank. All of it's going to go off this city water inlet if it's for water intake. And then if you are to winterize or sanitize your system, you're going to go from the black, or you're going to always go from this one. This one here is your black tank flush. So that's only used when flushing your black tank. So any of these are all going to go off the white inlet. You just got to switch around your valves to whichever way, depending on what you're doing. It just kind of depends. You can dry camp, so you can fill up your fresh tank and use it from there. You've got your standard tank fill. You got your city water connection if you're at a full hookup site. You've got winterize, so when you do go to winterize, you can flip it around to do that. And you got it to siphon from there into the tank. So if you're doing sanitizing with Fresh Chem, whatever the name of the company is, whatever chemical you're using to sanitize your lines or your tank. So flip those around, and it's almost too easy nowadays, and it's nice that everything's at the one location. Below that, you have all of your dump valves. You have both your black tanks. You have your gray and your other gray. So one gray is going to be your bathroom sink, shower. The other gray is usually your kitchen sink. You have black 1, black 2 for your toilet tanks. When you're dumping your black tank, it's always best to leave the valve open, turn it on, and it's going to shoot water into that tank and help clean it out. Let's see. You got your furnace exhaust here. Not too much you need to mess with there besides keeping mud dauber screens on those to keep the mud daubers, bees, and other bugs from getting in there and building nests. They tend to back the system up, and they can end up causing damage to the squirrel cage. You have your 50 amp detachable power cord, about 25 foot long, so it should get you most places you need to go. You have your water heater. This is a gas and electric water heater. This is a bigger one. This is a 12-gallon model, so it's going to give you plenty of shower heat for your shower and everything. Now it's got 2 modes, like I said, gas and electric, but to know how to turn them on, if you want to run it on electric, which if you're plugged in you might as well, there's no point in burning up your LP if you don't have to. You'll turn this switch on out here, and then there's another one on the inside. Both of those have to be on for the electric side to work. If you're just running LP, if you're dry camping, or if you want to turn the gas on while the electric's running to get a little faster recovery rate, the gas switch is only on the inside. So you flip it on, as long as you have LP, it'll light, and you can just go from there and use it sparingly or as you will. Other than that, it's got a drain plug at the bottom, which is an 1 1/16 socket that's going to drain the water heater when you're done. It has an anode rod attached to it, so any of the bad stuff in the water is going to attack the rod instead of the tank walls. And when you take that out of there, usually it's going to look corroded and stuff like that. You can either take it to a wire wheel or keep a wire brush with you and knock that stuff off and reuse it until it looks like it needs replaced, which is usually about the diameter of a coat hanger. From there, you have 2 resets out here, which very rarely blow, but if your gas or the electric isn't ever working, one of the first places you could check to see if this little button's popped out. If it does, you just push it back in. It's for the thermostat. If it ever reached above a temperature it wasn't set to, these will trip out, which is kind of rare, but it does happen. You have a pressure relief valve that you'll use when you're filling and draining. So if when I go to drain the water heater after it's been filled, I want to make sure that I lift that up and take all that pressure out. You can see how much pressure is behind that. If I pull that rod out, it's going to shoot off 10 feet away or hit me, and you know, it doesn't feel the greatest. So always make sure that you do that when you're draining and when you're filling. If I hooked up right now and I turn my water connection on, I want to come out here, lift that up all the way. I don't want to let all the air out of it and make a lot of noise, but until water starts shooting out of there. And then once it does that, I know it's pushed all the air out and the water heater's completely full, and I can go on turning on the electric or the gas. Not really too much on the back end. You do have a ladder on the back, of course, so you can get up there and check your roof sealants. You have your slide outs, which they're I think all of them but this one are all Swintech, so they have not a lot you have to do maintenance wise. With these slides, you'll want to lubricate your seals at least twice a year. I like to do every couple months. It can't hurt. You'll get a dry conditioner or a dry rubber seal conditioner and spray it on the seals. Just let it sit. That's going to keep those pliable so they don't crack and dry rot over the years. You know, this is something that's a wearable part that warranties and extended warranties don't usually cover because it's wearable. So you want to keep as much maintenance on these as possible so you don't have to pay for it later down the road, because these are fairly expensive and over time they get harder to find. So you don't have to replace those out prematurely. Of course, your dump valve is down there. Your dump station itself with all those valves will go to, so you'll just hook up your hose into that, put it into your dump site, pull all the handles. It's always best to pull the black first, wait till it's closed into your grays. That way you prevent backwashing, and you also prevent it from or you also help clean out your fresh tank or your hose. We'll move around the other way. So on this side you have your other LP tank. No regulator in here that you have to mess with. This is a regulator, but it's not one you have to mess with. You just turn this one on and off. Same thing with the locks. Got your other end of your storage. This is, got coaxes in and out, which I did neglect to mention. Over on the other side you have cable and satellite inputs in, so if you're ever running cable or satellite at a park you're plugged into, you'll run them in over at the water compartment, and then it'll feed out to whichever lines, like we have here. You have outlets. You have other than that, just big massive storage. 2 awnings on this coach, both LED awning lights. One's over the front portion, and then you got one on the slide. Back behind here we got a spray port that you can also use that hose that goes on the other side in here. Now these have been I'll bring it up just because people have it's been a question I've got quite a few times, is that these can be really stiff. A couple years ago they used to have a pink tag that hung off of them that said if they're really stiff and you can't get the hose in there because it's a just a locking fitting, that you take a Phillips head screwdriver, put it in there and smack it with a rubber mallet, or just get a good hit with your hand and it frees up. Sometimes they lock themselves up and it just gets kind of hard to stick the hose in there. So it's usually never an issue. You just try that or really kind of force it in there and it'll knock the whatever's corroded or keeping it hung up. But that'll give you water outside, so if you want to spray off your steps before you throw them inside or just whatever, you have that option. See, the only thing other down there is another 110 outlet that you can plug in whatever you'd like. Starting here at the top, you have your fresh tank fill. This is going to tell you the levels in all your tanks underneath. So you have your fresh tank, your drinking water, your black tank, which is usually, or your black tank's always toilet, probably the front one on this one. You have to test that out and see, because I'm unsure exactly which black is which on this one. Usually 2 is the front with the, usually number 2, either gray or black, is secondary. So either the sink or the secondary bathroom. So I'm assuming black 1 is the front bathroom, the main, and then black 2 would be the little one up front. I'll show you in a second. Gray 1 will be your shower, bathroom sinks, kitchen sink, or bathroom sinks, and then gray 2 will be your kitchen sink. You have your water heater, gas, and electric. So like I said, on the electric side, you want to have this switch on and the one outside on when you have water in it and you're ready to use it. The gas, you just flip it on, give it a little while, and it'll light. This fault light will go off once it does light. It doesn't come on when it doesn't light. It does the opposite, so it goes off when it lights. Your water pump, if you are using the fresh tank, if you're hooked directly into city water at a full hookup park, you don't need that. You have tank heaters on this unit, so if you get caught in a little bit of cold weather, you can flip those on to help prevent your tanks from freezing. You have a whole slew of lights down here. You have your slides, 4 slides here. They just run in and out. When you have, one thing I'll mention on the Swintech slides, which are the kinds with the rails on the outside you can see, you want to make sure that when you run those, you run them all the way out and all the way in. It's best not to stop halfway through with the Swintechs, because they've been known to, they can bind themselves up or they get off track because they run off 2 motors and a board that tells which motors to run at what time. So the best thing to do when you're running these all the way out, I run it all the way out and I keep hold of it even though it's all the way out for a few seconds afterwards, to make sure that it's all synced up. You don't want to get these in a bind. If you do, there's a way to reset it and override that, but you don't want to have to deal with that. Then you have your awnings, extend and retract. Simple. You can those you can run out as far as you can. If you got a tree or something in the way and you don't want to, you can't run it all the way out, you don't have to. You can put it wherever you want. Let's see. Down here you got your breaker box. It's got all your fuses, all your breakers in it. So you've got mainly 15 amp standard auto fuses. All these have a light next to them in the board there, so if one happened to blow and there was power pulling from it, it would actually light up. I don't know if this one will or not, because it might not be power pulling from it, but if it does have power, it'll pull from there, light up for you. You have 25 amp fuses at the bottom, which are your converter fuses themselves. So if you ever came in here and you had no lights, no 12 volt power, but you had 110, like your TV and stuff was working, fireplace, you might check these fuses and see those are reverse polarity fuses. So if the battery was ever hooked up backwards or something happened, it would blow those fuses before it got to the converter. Then all your breakers, they're all labeled over here on the sides, so if something isn't ever working, you can check that. If you wanted to shut one off because you didn't want the kids to turn on the third AC or something, you could. So it's pretty simple. Up here on this wall you have two thermostats, one for the back AC, one for the middle AC. The third AC on this is the same thermostat that's in here. It's just got 3 buttons, so you got to turn it on. I don't want to make it run, but you got fan, high, low, you got cool, high, low, auto, and then you've got off on this one. That one only does AC. This one will do your furnace. I think, let me see, make sure. Yeah, this one does the furnace. So only one thermostat will actually run the furnace in most units. So you just flip through there, find out which mode you want, turn it up or down to whatever temperature, and you're good to go. Got your lights on and off, dimmer controls. This is a exhaust fan that's up there by the stove that you can open and close. have different fan speeds, help exhaust some of the smells cooking. If you're cooking in here, just get some fresh air flowing through, because they pull pretty well. Really, you can have a turn it on high and then open a window in this back bedroom or something. You can really feel the air flowing through. So on them not so hot days. Let's see, moving up to this bedroom, you got USB chargers on both sides. You got the same thermostat here. You've got more dimmer controls on and off. The king size bed. Got hidden storage all over this place. This is one of my favorite things about the unit. I mean, they've really used every amount of space they could. I think even this thing has storage underneath it. So, there's not too many places that they could have stuck more storage because they've used it all. Back in the back, or I guess in the front, you have another exhaust fan right above me, the same style. Slow close Dometic toilet seat, which is pretty nice. The residential shower, I really like this. The glass panels, it's got the seat in here. The shower stall, of course, has got the on and off because it is still running off a 12-gallon water heater. So if you want to stop the flow of water instead of messing with your hot and cold controls, you can just shut it off, and that while you lather your hair or whatnot. So you don't waste your water. Let's see, other than that, got a huge walk-in closet back here where your washer and dryer could be if you wanted one. It's got hookups for them here, stackable or combo. Got a little clothes pantry or clothes hamper there. Not too much else. Epoxy poured countertops. Those are, it's not something you see in too many campers. These are, they feel great, they look great. Got nice faucets there and everything. Got Ready Connect here, so if you do hook up, you got your TV booster that you can turn on. So instead of having the little black button at the booster, you turn that on. Or if you have the Wi-Fi hooked up, which goes here, it's a little box you can buy. You pull this down, you have, you know what, I'll go into that a little bit more. This is the WineGuard system, so you have to buy the WineGuard router. This is just prepped for it. It has the antenna on the roof. And so basically what you'll do if you bought that router, you're going to take these two screws out, pull that down. Now, I've seen it multiple different ways with different companies. You'll either pull that down and you're going to have a loom with 3 or 4 small wires with gold ends on them that will screw into the router. And then you're also going to have a thicker wire that's going to be your power. It's going to have your hot and your negative. And it usually, sometimes, is either just a blank end that you can strip, wire into the router itself, or sometimes you have to cut the wires, which will kill the power to the lights in here, and splice them together. So it just depends. I don't think Alliance is doing it the cutting way. I think most of the time they have it, it's already set up for this, so all you have to do is pull the wire down, strip it, and hook it up. I've seen some of the other companies that are doing it that aren't, you have to actually physically cut the wires and splice them all back in together. But if you don't find that stuff up there, I mean, it is a small hole, but sometimes you have to feel around, maybe grab something that you can get up in there. The wires are usually right around in this location. They're supposed to be attached to this little plate, but some things jiggle loose. A little seat there with the shoe storage. Got some cork board up there. You got your second bathroom in here. I guess this could be your main, your secondary bathroom, as that's the master. Same countertops in here, same faucets, same toilet. I don't think this one, I don't know if this one has, yeah, that one's got the slow close too, which is pretty nice. Got GFI reset breaker in here. This has got fan and motion light controls. So you can have a motion light for that little light that's on the fan. Turn the fan on. And that's pretty much it. Kind of small bathroom, but it definitely nice. Then you have your residential refrigerator, which will usually be put together when you pick it up, but you have only a few buttons up here that you can physically mess with. You have freezer, which you just hit the button a few times, and you can pick your temperature that you want. It goes up to -6 or 6 degrees and -6. Recommended at 0. Fridge is the same way. You'll turn that 38. Recommended is 37. Check your filter status. See, it's at 90%, so it says it's 90. I don't even think it's in there right now. Turbo cool, so if you get somewhere and you want it to cool down quicker, you can. So it's pretty nice. Refrigerator. You got your pull outs out there. Plenty of room for all your food and beverages. Let's see. Of course, these all have slow close. Soft close, however you want to say it. Hinges on them, which is pretty nice. This one's right here. Got your microwave. It's pretty easy to operate. Standard plates in here, so it doesn't jiggle around when it's moving. And you've got your stove. These are fairly simple to operate too. You just, when we do have LP, we don't have it on right now, you just turn and hold it. Eventually you'll get a flame, sticks up, and you can turn it to whatever temperature you want. Got oven light buttons here. Big, massive oven, which is pretty nice compared to what you normally have in RVs. Turn the lighting on and off for the panel. We like to leave it on. Got all your manuals and stuff in one of the drawers. Can't guarantee it's going to be in this one, but you'll have all the Alliance manuals, owner's manuals, different quick guides and things like that. So if you ever have questions about any of that, your remotes are always usually in one place. If it was purchased from us, we try to keep them all in one area. Let's see. Got your fireplace, and if you pull, I believe, let's see, you pull this to the left, and you pull these out. See, use a little bit of lubricant on those. This hasn't been through prep yet, so we probably need to. We can work on those, make them a little quieter. But again, they use as much space as they could, so you got a lot of extra storage back there to put whatever you'd like. Then you've got, of course, your TV. It's fairly simple to operate. You just do channel scans every time you get to a new area. Then you got your radio. It's got all the features you could want in it: Bluetooth, auxiliary, CD, DVD, all that good stuff that you'd expect. More storage on each side of the couch here. So this is probably one of the big units with the most storage in it. It's got USB outputs down there. No carpet in the main rooms, or no carpet period in the entire camper, but which is nice if you're a pet owner. Let's see, cup holders here that flips up. That was pretty nice. And as far as electronics and all that stuff go that really need explained, that's pretty much it for down on this particular camper. So that was the Alliance Paradigm 370 FB, and we'll see you next week.